Hey basketball coaches and basketball players, this video I'm going to talk to you about how you can destroy and attack 3-2 zone defenses. Whether you're a player or a coach, this video is for you. Let's get down to the clipboard. Let's check these out. So first, to know how to attack a 3-2 zone, you have to know how it's set up. So really quickly, a 3-2 zone, the zones for each player is roughly like this. Any of these locations that are overlapping are essentially double team locations. So we have to keep that in mind. What do we want to do really quickly if we want to quickly attack a zone defense? That is to attack the gaps. So when you're attacking a gap, for example, you could be running what I have right here, which is a 5-out, very simple offense, and all you need to do is have your guard or whoever has that ball attack that gap. That should bring in both of those players, in which case now you could have a kick out to players 2 or 4 for a 3-point shot. At the same time, however, if you kick out to player 4 who's playing super wide, that's going to be stretching out player 5 because there's no other player up here who's able to go down and cut that off. So at this point, you could have player 2 then drive towards the rim or cut towards the rim, and that could be an easy kick in for or pass into a cutter for the layup. So of course, that's just one simple play that you could run. However, also a strategy that basically breaks down to attack the gaps. Always want to attack the gaps. If you've got a player in the low post, or in the low corner I should say, who has that ball, and you've got player 5 out, for example, at this point you should be having player 4 wanting to attack the gap between players 5 and 3. Now if they're running their zone a bit differently, where they're keeping the players home in the post, and you've got player 3 kicking down and player 1 playing across, again, same thing. You would want to have player 4 attacking that gap because that's going to be bringing those two players in. Again, there's two different ways of playing that 3-2. I've seen coaches who run a 3-2 who has player 1 covering the whole top, player 3 covering the wings, player 2 covering the wings, and players 4 and 5 staying home. That's another way of playing it, but if they're playing it this way, then those corners are super deadly because you could pass that ball to player 2 easily, bring player 3 out, kick down to player 4 who's got an open shot every single time. So you really have to see how which coach you're playing against, essentially, and which way he's running that 3-2 zone. Now another way that you can beat a zone defense and beat almost or you can beat every 3-2 zone, but almost any zone in total is just basically having a high post player. When you're having a high post player, basically what happens is there's no real defender of the high post. And what happens here is that draws up that low post defender and allows players like player 4 to cut down into that along the baseline into the low post for an easy layup. And then you can also have multiple players attacking the baseline, because now what happens here is player 4 red would be cut across to defend player 4 blue, in which case he would pass across to player 3. So there's so many different ways that you are able to attack a 3-2 zone defense that can give you easy baskets in that low post. You can also be running a 3-out, 2-in overload offense, and overloading a side is also another way that you can beat a 3-2 zone defense. So to overload the side, you would have player 1 pass down to player 2, and you would have player 5, he would come to the high post. Now this is overloading a side. However, personally, I basically super overload the side whenever I see a zone, no matter what zone I'm playing against. And that's to do this. After player 1 passes, I have him cut towards this low corner. We now have 4 players in this side. We would have player 3 then go to the top of the key. And now what we're essentially doing over here is still trying to get that ball towards that high post. We're forcing the defense to really swing over And what we're going to be able to do here is, of course, player 1 is going to be wanting to guard player 2. But what I like to do here, and another way that you can beat a 3-2 zone, is to swing that basketball from one side to the other. And to do that even better is to swing an overload from one side to the other. And one way that you could swing a super overload offense is by having player 2 pass to player 3, or if you're too afraid of that because that's the most dangerous pass in the game, have player 3 screen for player 2 who's going to dribble over towards this side. At that same time, we're going to be having player 5 go into that low post and player 1 swing baseline using player 5 and 4 as a screen. Now we're going to pass over to player 1 who could shoot that ball. Anytime that you're swinging the ball around, you need to be quick. Next, I want to see player 3. He's going to be waiting to head up to the top because player 2 is already going down towards that corner and player 4 is going up towards that high post. Now we've got multiple players who are open, and we can now set up an overload offense on, well, we've already set it up on this side. So some of the ways that you can attack a 3-2 zone is by attacking the gaps, getting the ball to the high post, swinging the ball around the perimeter, and then also running an overload or a super overload offense. I hope that you've enjoyed today's video. If you have, hit that like button, subscribe, and I'll see you guys again next time.